see, maybe this one's better. Is this better? Bro, I don't need your freaking... Okay, perfect. Oh, wait, how do I move it to... Shit, wait. Oh my Jesus. I need to move it to the correct side. BAM! Oh my god, guys! This should have been something that I did for Monday, but it didn't happen. Whoa! Jesus! Alright, guys. Today, I made a presentation on Selection Pack Eternal Partners. I want to let the teacher know that my teammate DK didn't do any of the work. I did all of this on my own. Next slide. Okay, I might have to hide the chat for this one, actually. Yeah, the chat is a little bit too distracting. Alright. So, what archetypes do we got in here? I'm gonna be honest, I started with this slide, so it wasn't very well planned out, but we got Yubel, we got the Centur-ion, we got some pendulum shit, I couldn't remember Majespecters when I typed it out, and then other garbage. Moving on, starting with the titular Yubel. You know it, you love him. Here we go. We got the Grinder Golem. This guy, he's a big bungus. He has 3000 attack. He's a retrain of a banned card. Summons himself to the opponent's side of the field. Summons Yubel to your side of the field. Heals the Yubel player. He can block the field. So you can't summon a Kashtira. You can't Lightning Storm. You can't Evenly. And also, like, only one decklist ever used this. Some German guy who got top 4, and he said that it's actually not that bad, and something about OTK, yada yada yada. I don't know, everybody else says that this card is absolute garbage and nobody should ever play it. So, like, you know, you could make this your signature card, maybe. I don't freaking know. Yeah, can't temper meter! It's crazy, dude. Insane. You will use it? Use it. You can be like that guy. Alright. Next up. Mature Chronicle. This one I use 0 to 1 mostly, from what I've seen. So cool factor. Let's start with the cool part. That's the last part. It's 18 plus. It's mature, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, this has a bunch of effects. Depends on how many counters you have. You get a counter every time a Yubel card is summoned. On 1, it can revive a Yubel for removing 1 counter. For removing 2, you can recycle any banished card, which is honestly kind of cracked. Holy shit, my 2-card combo! I get this with 2 counters, I activate Goldsark, and then I add the card Goldsark banished back to the hand. Holy! If you have 3 counters, you can banish a card from the deck, so it's already Goldsark. Holy shit, dude! With 4 counters, you can pop a card on the field, and with 5, you can search for Super Poly, which, you know, like, cool, I guess. As far as I know, this doesn't really come up too often. But, you know, that's pretty cool, right? We got Eternal Favorite. This is another favorite of mine because people are like, I don't know if you should even run this. We got the effect that summons a Yubel monster from graveyard or banish pile. And neither player can respond to the summon, which I guess is kind of neat. And the other effect is if you have Yubel on field, you can Super Poly with Yubel, which I guess is like what matters. Yeah, I don't know. Some cards are a little bit different. I did my best. Okay, Teach. I did what I could. But yeah, this one may be a one-of. It's kind of nice. You could maybe like cheese with multiples and Master Duel, to be honest, but I don't know. Alright, now we're moving into the cards that kind of matter a bit more. Nightmare Pain. This one sees play in like a bunch of ratios. 1, 2, 3. Some people are like, you know, you gotta play 3. Other people are like, I don't want to see more than one of this because it doesn't do shit on its own. But whatever. Who made this? I made this. Okay. We got insane person playing 1. Actually, from what I see, the later builds at this point with like the dude guys are playing less. Most builds currently or with the card pool that we have, we're playing 2 or 3. But after Fiendsmith, it seems to be going down to 1. But yeah. Alright. We got a pop, a dark from hand or field, and then we search for Yubel related card. The card that is or mentions Yubel. It also forces the opponent to attack Yubel, and also redirects all the battle damage from Yubel. So it's the Nightmare Pain. Very cool. This is the starter. You play 3 of this guy, and you even play 1 for 1 for this guy, as far as I know. He contributes himself to summon a Yubel monster. And during opponent's turn, he contributes himself to override an opponent's monster effect and turn it into you know, like the controller of the Lotus, pop a Yubel monster from your... I assume it's the same as the other one, so it's like from deck, hand, or field. So it's, you know, it's basically the Abyss Actor field spell, literally, except instead of popping a face-down card the opponent controls, it makes you pop a Yubel card, I suppose. It's only on field? Wait, is this one only on field? Blah, blah, blah. Attribute this card. Oh yeah, it is only on field. Wow, this guy sucks ass. Okay, to be fair, that doesn't come up too often because the way you get this guy back onto the field is he revives during end phase if you control the OG Yubel. Which I imagine probably doesn't happen too often. It's not impossible, but I kind of reckon that it probably doesn't happen too often. Then we got Spirit of Yubel. Holy cannoli. Will of the Day! This one can't be killed by battle. And, I think, like, you don't take damage. I don't remember. I made this in the... I mean, I know how this works. But I'm pretty sure this one also doesn't take damage. They all seem to have that effect. And then if this is popped, you can summon a Yubel from your hand, deck, graveyard, or banish pile. Which is kind of cool that it summons from the banish pile, because before 2023 it wasn't as common to do that, I feel like, but this shit do be doing that quite a lot. It also can summon itself from the hand when the opponent declares an attack. So, you know, it's a blocker. It's kind of like the Spirit of Neos card, from which this was most likely inspired, but, you know, I digress, whatever, it doesn't matter. And on summon, this can set a spell trap that mentions Yubel, which means you can search for the Searcher spell, or for the trap, or for, I don't know, Joe Mama. Okay, moving on to the last card from the first set. Yubel, the Loving Defense. Oh, so yeah, of course, you play 3 of that one. Well, actually, I guess some people played 2, but I feel like you played 3 of this, right? You kind of want to play 3 of it. The Loving Defender Forever. This one's a Yubel monster, plus an effect monster on the field. Which, woohoo, we freaking love super poly targets. That's great. I love being able to fuse literally anything from the field off. For, you know, this. When it is fusion summoned, you can burn 500 per material used. So, I don't know, if your opponent has a lot of stuff, you could remove even more stuff and burn more. Yes, damage. Wow. Also can't be destroyed by battle or by effect. And you take no damage from battles involving this card. Also, after battle with this card, you can burn and banish. Burn for the attack value and banish the opponent's monster that you battled. Very cool. Basically, Amazoness Swordsman plus Amazoness Onslaught in one card, while also being under Amazoness Queen. So like 3 cards in one. Whoa, that's pretty crazy, but also it's a super poly target that can master move. Let's go. Then we got new support guy, the gruesome grave scrimmer. I'm just gonna say it. We've all been this guy is not a natty, okay? You saw how he looked like 10 years ago, and look at him now. There's no shot. He's only gotten older, and he's gained so much muscle mass. This guy is not a natty. He's juicing it up way too much, and he still keeps acting like he's the natural. It's not okay, all right? It's not okay. But what he can do is also, I guess some people are like, you could play one of this, so probably should have said 1 to 3, but it mostly said 2 to 3, so I assume that's the standard. He can quick effect summon himself if you control a fiend, and then you can pop a Yubel related card you control, so a card that is Yubel or mentions Yubel. Juiced Grave Scrimmer, yeah, he's probably friends with the Grinder Golem. And his second effect is you can banish him from the graveyard, and then you can summon a 0/0 fiend from your hand or graveyard. That's not gruesome grave squirmer. So he's an extender into another extension. Kinda cool. Very epic. Very nice guy. Then we got the Nightmare Throne. This is another searcher. You be playing 3 of this. When you activate it, you can take or pop a 0/0 fiend from your deck. And if a Yubel you control leaves the field by card effect, you can add a Yubel monster from your hand, graveyard, or banish pile with 1 level higher or lower than the removed monster, and then summon it, ignoring its summoning condition. So very cool. The throne looks a little bit too big, to be honest. I feel like it's there for like 4 people, 5 people. They definitely have to, you know, do something weird. I don't know. It's called Dell Incubo, but you know. Sponsored by Dell Computers. Let's go. Then we got the new fusion. Phantom of Yubel. I don't know what language the card is in here, but it uses 1 Yubel monster and 1 0/0 fiend. You shuffle the materials from your hand, field, or graveyard. So it's kind of cracked in that way. It's kind of nutty for the summoning. You can't use it as a fusion material, so it can't be super polyed off. That might be relevant, I imagine. It can't die by battle, and you take no damage. And its quick effect is to tribute to make the opponent's effect to pop a Yubel in your hand, deck, or field. So this one definitely does pop elsewhere. I know because I can read whatever language that's, I don't know, Thai, maybe it's something else. But yeah, this one seems to see play at 2 to 3. I feel like 2 seems to be the minimum, and 3 is like you might as well play the third one, right? Because you're already playing 2. Yeah, I know because I can read, exactly. That's the reason. Alright, then you also run these. I don't know what I was thinking when I included this, because it's like, I'm not going over deck lists anyways, but I just made this slide and I was like, you know what, I'm not including deck lists, so... these are the expected end word pieces. Super Poly kind of counts. I didn't really include it, but then I typed this out like 5 minutes before the stream. I mean, what? I completed this like long ago. I've had this. Yeah, I did my homework on time, guys. You got Phantom of Yubel. This one can redirect the monster effect. Vietnamese? Okay, that makes sense. We got potentially Unchained Soul of Rage. If we get there, we might also be going through Wave Hiking Caesar. This is if you play a bigger Unchained package. A lot of builds probably don't even play this, but you know, it's an option. You can have Escape of the Unchained. This guy is the pop guy. Very cool. Unkahined. Or Fiendsmith. Yeah, or Fiendsmith, but that's not in the game. That doesn't exist. And then also there's this guy who's a rank 10 guy who can negate an effect, and then on pop or removal, he can pop a card. He's not gonna be in the game, so I don't know. I just included him. It's more so like, you can make rank 10s. Whoa, that's crazy. Rank 10 trains, burn for 2k on turn 1, and then the opponent scoops. Holy. That's crazy. But yeah, I don't know. Anything else is like, obviously, you know, like generics, but these are the main pieces that I spotted as like on board cards. Alright. Next up, we got Centur-ion. Whoa! That's crazy, dude. Look at that. They got, like, women. And that's, like, a gun over there. And we got a spike and some blades. So that's pretty cool. Okay, we got Primera. It's kind of weird that it told me that some people play 2 in pure builds, but, you know, 2 to 3. A normal summon, it adds a Centur-ion card to the hand, but its own name can't be special summoned for the rest of a turn. So, you know, you're kind of like locked after that. And during the main phase, you can summon itself from the spell trap zone if it's there on either turn. And, well, some variants ran 1, so like it depends on the variants that we're talking about, right? While in spell trap zone, level 5 plus Centurions can't be destroyed by card effects. That might be relevant. This seems to be a starter, so, you know, you kind of like her. This also seems to be a starter. Trudea, whatever. The freaking white-haired girl ripoff. Let's go. You can place her from the field and one other Centurion from hand, deck, and spell trap zone. And then her own name can't be summoned for the rest of a turn. And she can also summon herself from the spell trap zone and then increase her level by 4. Very cool. Very epic. You know, she can place the other starter in the spell trap zone that summons itself out, and then it adds the other thing. You know, very cool. Here's the other thing. Again, it's kind of weird. Like, some of the shit is like, oh, in pure we play 0, which is like, I don't know what kind of ratios you have to be playing for some of these cards to be played at 0. Which will come up later, but it's like, I don't know, like you're maxing on the weird stuff or something. But yeah, since it probably had like weird data collection where some of the hybrids are counted as pure instead, or rather the archetype, but yeah, whatever. During the main phase, you can target a Centur-ion you control, and you can put that in the spell trap zone, and then summon this card from the hand or graveyard, but its own name can't be summoned for the rest of a turn. And if it's in the spell trap zone, it can summon itself out during the main phase. You know, it's a level 8 bungus. That's all there is to it. We got Centur-ion Gargoyle 2. This guy seems to be seeing play at like 1 copy most of the time. Summons himself by sending a Centur-ion I control, or you control. No, actually, I have to control it specifically. You can't control, I have to control it. And then after that, its own name can't be special summoned for the rest of a turn. Also, it can special summon itself from the spell trap zone, and then it can reduce its level by 4, so it can become a level 4. That's cool, I guess. Also, I guess something that I didn't check for is this is a tuner, and that seems to be the only tuner. That's kind of whack, but you know, it is what it is. We got Stand Up Centur-ion, which sees play at 2 to 3. You can't, the opponent can't pop this, or I think it actually can't be popped in general, but I can't read like Spanish or something, so I can't double check right now. But I just wrote that it can't be popped while you control a Centur-ion monster card. It does specify monster card rather than monster, so I'm like 99% sure that it counts if you have a monster in the back row. Otherwise, it would just say control a Centur-ion monster. But yeah, that's pretty epic. You're still trying to master piloting Sword Soul since you got it for free a few months ago. Now you have to add even more decks to learn. You don't have to learn any of the other decks. You're like perfectly fine. I think your approach of mastering your own deck is definitely the right way to go about it. Going like when you start the game, you only really need to care about your own deck. Eventually, you're gonna get more and more comfortable with your own deck, and then you can start paying attention to like what your opponent is doing. And the first thing you want to do against any deck that you're playing is focus on what they end on, as in like to see what interactions they have, so that you know what to expect. And then at some point, when you get more comfortable with that and you see it more, you can, you know, maybe do research or pondering or whatever to find the best ways to interrupt them. And, you know, and then you probably know the deck by then. But it is what it is. But I wouldn't be too worried about it. You also see mostly a bunch of the same decks, admittedly. So you kind of get there. Don't worry. We'll be fine. Also, welcome in. Alright, so it can be popped while you control a Centur-ion monster card. On activation, you can send the card from the hand to the graveyard and spell trap place a Centur-ion from the deck. It's hard once per turn. Both effects are hard once per turn, so you can only activate it once. This just grabs a thing, so it seems to be another starter as well. Kind of crazy. If a Centur-ion is summoned, and also this is like the effect that kind of allows you to play the game during your opponent's turn, aka like in general probably. So if a Centur-ion monster is summoned from the spell trap zone, you can immediately synchro summon using at least one Centur-ion monster. This is also hard once per turn, so you can't be synchro summoning multiple times during the opponent's turn, for what it's worth. If you somehow were to, you know, be able to set that up otherwise. Then we got this one, which had use statistic of 0 to 2. Though there was a list that played like 1, there was one that played 3, so, you know, it's personal preference probably. You can put a Centur-ion from your hand or graveyard in the spell trap zone. And the second effect is if a Centur-ion monster is synchro summoned, you can banish this card from graveyard and place a Centur-ion from the graveyard into spell trap zone again. So you just recycle. I felt like this secondary effect might be a little bit more relevant until I got to the synchro monsters, but now that after I read the synchro monsters, I feel like, yeah, this is like maybe not that important. We got Oath, which seems to be very important because everybody's running this at 3, and then you see, oh shoot, this is another starter. So hard once per turn, one of the two effects can be used. You can either put a Centur-ion from your deck into the spell trap zone, and while the card with that name is on the board for the rest of the turn, or actually I think it just says while it's on the field, you can only summon Centur-ion synchro monsters from the extra deck. And the other option is you can just set a Centur-ion spell trap from the deck, which would be either the bonds from before or the following cards, which are Centur-ion Phalanx, which also sees play at 0 to 2, which is a basically Fiendish Golem from the Resonator deck. You can target a face-up monster, and you can banish it until the next standby phase. Or, I guess the second effect is kind of a little bit cooler. You can revive a Centur-ion Synchro from the graveyard, but it loses 1500 attack. It's also hard once per turn, and you can only use one effect per turn. Hello! We got one more back row card. This one sees play mostly at 0 to 1. It was 100% in Centur-ion Tenpai. 100% use rate, according to Decade. Anything good from your set? Yeah, Yubel's pretty good. When a spell trap or monster effect is activated, send the face-up monster from your spell trap zone to the graveyard and negate the activation plus destroy the card. It doesn't seem to mention Centur-ion anywhere, so, you know, potentially this could be a generic card for some other random decks. Like, I don't think you would want to play it because it wouldn't be searchable necessarily. Though I suppose you could, like, be weird and, like, tech in from freaking Emblema Oath and the True Awakening into, like, Snake Eyes or something. I don't know, dude. You could do weird stuff. I can't stop you. Thanks so much for the gifted sub, Horo. Thank you. And then the other notes are, this is hard once per turn. So, you know, that explains also probably extra reason why people tend to be playing only one copy. And another important note is you have to run this because it looks kind of too cool to not be ran, right? Like, look at the artwork. It's just too epic. You can't not run this. It's a little bit mandatory to run this. Then we're moving on to the synchros. This is the newer one, I believe. It seems to be played at 1 to 2 copies. Face-up spell trap zone cards can't be popped, so I guess like a bit of an SSA type of effect when, you know, Sea Stealth attack banishes a water monster and then protects face-up, but it doesn't protect the field zone, so I suppose that's kind of important. But then again, you know, like field zone or field protect itself if you control a thing, so I guess it wasn't necessary. So that just random notes, random thoughts that went through my mind. On special summon, important note, both of these have effects on special summon, not on synchro summon, which means the trap card revive would proc their special summon effects. On special summon, you can add a Centur-ion card from your deck. Pog, I love searching. And during the end phase, you can place a non-synchro Centur-ion monster from your graveyard or banish pile in the spell trap zone, which, you know, kind of epic. Hey, thanks so much for the lurk. And then you have Centur-ion Legatia. Oh yeah, I guess this one Auxilla, I guess. We got Legatia. I don't know. I feel like you could read it in a couple ways. While this is on the field, monsters you control with 2k or less attack can't be destroyed by battle. I suppose that allows your little guys to survive potential battle phase threats if the opponent can't read or something. I'm not quite sure how relevant this is, but it's technically there, you know. I'm still not, I haven't done enough research to find the relevance of this effect, but I'm sure it will be very cool. Maybe you can like crash or something. I don't know. But anyways, on special summon, you can draw a card, and then you can destroy one opponent's monster with the highest attack on the field, your choice of tide. So it's a draw and a pop. Honestly, not even that bad for random level 12. The awkward part is this is the card that you tend to summon on turn 1, so you don't get the pop, which makes it feel not great, because even with the both effects, it's not like that crazy compared to, I don't know, freaking Jerk-off Dragon number 69. But still pretty decent card. And during that phase, it has a very unique effect that we definitely haven't seen on the other synchro, which is you can place a non-synchro monster from your hand this time, or graveyard in the spell trap zone, rather than graveyard and banish pile. So basically it sets up your ability to synchro during the opponent's turn, because you're going to be synchroing into stuff. And then you're going to place stuff in the back row, and then during the opponent's turn, you're going to summon the two things out, and then you're going to synchro into Crimson Dragon, and then you're going to tag out into a freaking negate guy. Very cool. Alright, these are the endboard pieces that seem to be most common. You have the Gatia. It doesn't really do much, to be honest. It's there because it's level 12, and you know, you kind of have to go through the combo with it. Then you summon the Crimson Dragon, as I was talking about before. And then you most likely tag out into Blazar Dragon. This could be other level 12s. It could be the Red Supernova Dragon. It could also be Quasar, I suppose, the old one. But old Quasar is kind of like, you know, not as good as Blazar, objectively speaking. So it's probably Blazar. A lot of people tend to be playing 2 Blazar, so that's something to keep in mind. You could probably get away with less, even in a pure build, but just something to be aware of. Will this be in the test? Yes. Alright, we got even more stuff. We got Majespecters that are getting like 4 cards. And the things that they are known for is that nobody has done anything with this deck. This hasn't achieved anything, and you could be the person to maybe do something with it. We also do have the most Majespecters available now with Kieran coming back. So maybe this is a deck made for Master Duel, but I'm gonna be real, this doesn't look that crazy. So we got this guy. Yamarashi. I added 0 to question mark because again there were no references and I didn't really dig that deep into pure builds on YouTube, etc. I would expect that you probably do want to run this guy at some copies, probably not going to be at 0. If you control a Majespecter, you can summon this guy for free from the hand, and on summon he can set a Majespecter spell trap from the graveyard, so he's like a follow-up guy, extender guy. Both things pretty cool, pretty nice. He's an epic dude guy. They're all Cocytus. It's true, they are all Cocytus. Cocytus is not that good though, but you know, they are all Cocytus, you're right. Alright, then we got Draco. I don't know why this is like an old fan translation, I think. Because it says Draco Ryu, but I think the OG one says just Draco. I'm not entirely sure, actually. But what the frick? This has been going on for longer than I thought. Okay. Alright. So this one is a Pendulum Xyz, so it has a couple effects. It needs 2 level 4 monsters. It's a generic Xyz. It can be Pendulum Sun as if it were a level 4. And if it's destroyed or tributed, you can scale it into the Pendulum Zone as a scale 5. If a monster is tributed, you can attach 1 material from it and special summon a level 6 or lower wind spellcaster from your deck. And you can do this up to twice per turn. We checked stuff. I still didn't really see any too amazing targets for this. Outside of the very bad meme of like, oh, you could summon Droll and then bounce it back to the hand in one way or another and then like search Droll or something. I don't think that would happen, but you know, it is what it is. Will the camel in the background be a part of the combo too? Yes, it will. And then also, if this is, or rather while this is scaled, it has the same effect as the girl on the dragon guy, which is if the other scale is a Majespecter or Draco Slayer, you can search for another Majespecter and then you can pop a scale. So, you know, you could search and you can pop her and then you could summon her out or something. I don't know. I don't know what you would do with that, but like, you could loop stuff, I suppose. That's kind of cool. And you need Luster Pendulum. I mean, Luster's free though. We also got Orthros Nue. So this guy has a couple things that are cool about him. He requires 2 Pendulum monsters, including a Majespecter, so it's not that easy to summon. And on the Link Summon, you lock yourself. You go to prison, where you can only be a Majespecter or a Draco Slayer for the rest of the turn. And then you can add up to 2 Majespecters from your extra deck to your hand. And then after that, you can put 2 differently named Majespecters from the deck in your extra deck. So, like, technically, it gives you a fair bit of resources, right? Assuming that you use 2 monsters for this. One of the Hedgehog guy from earlier, or Porcupine or whatever. And then another guy, like the Normos Bunbuku, I think, searches for a monster on summon. You would get both of those back into hand and then 2 cards in the extra deck, which is like already, holy cannoli, I get my scales back and I can get 2 things to Pendulum Summon. But you're also kind of locked into something that has basically no real ability to interact with your opponent during their turn. So I imagine that this could probably help with like an OTK push potentially because of the Draco Slayer synchro guy. But yeah, the other thing about this guy is that his effect is hard once per turn use. So if it gets negated, you know, get fricked. And also he is a funny monkey. So, you know, that's pretty cool. I like that he's a funny monkey. And the last card is Majespecter Wind, which allows you to special summon a Majespecter from the hand or graveyard, but at the time of activation you contribute a wind monster, or wind spellcaster rather, and if you do, you can summon from the deck instead, which, you know, I guess the idea is like, you summon a shitty card, or maybe, okay, maybe not shitty, you summon a not desirable card, or maybe you summon one of the ones that searches for back row, and then you tribute that off, and then you special summon the one that searches for a monster, and then that one searches for the extender guy, who can then set this back onto the field, by the way, because it's a Majespecter spell trap. You know, remember all the way back here, this guy? And then you can link off into this guy, and then you pend, and then you have your expected endboard pieces, which, again, I didn't really go super in-depth with the research here, but spending about half a minute thinking what you could end on, you can end on, I guess, these 2 cards, which is like both require you to tribute a wind, and then you can like negate a summon or a monster effect and destroy, and then the other one is you could tribute and banish a card or something. I don't know. Seems pretty epic, to be honest. Like, if this was in Duel Links, holy shit, dude, that would go crazy. I don't know how playable this will be, but this technically should be here as well. Alright, and then we also got Ogdoadic. Things of note about this one is that it's literally unbeatable. According to a YouTube video that I watched half a year ago or so, or whenever Ogdos came out on Duel Links, that guy said everybody surrenders against him when he plays them. That's how good they are, and also Snake. So, yeah. We got 2 new cards. We got the Yubel Overview, which has an actually reasonable summoning condition, which is if a monster is sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard while this card is in the graveyard, you can bring him out, but you're also locked to reptiles for the rest of the turn, which, as we all know, is the best monster type in the game. So honestly, that's not a restriction. That's if anything, it just puts you on the right track. It just makes the game easier for you. And the second effect that it has is if you control it when it's revived from the graveyard, you can just target a card in the graveyard with a different name from itself and then revive it. Very cool. We love a big winged snake guy. Why does he have wings? Anyone see a freaking snake with wings, by the way? Like, what's that all about? And then we also got Ogdoadic Daybreak. A Duel Links card! I've activated that in Duel Links. Or as I like to call it, Aurora Dawn for snakes. You contribute a reptile from the hand field, and for every 2 levels that had on the field, you can summon a snake token, which is a Dark 00 level 2 token. Very cool. Also, you can banish this from the graveyard, shuffle a banished reptile into the deck, and then mill a reptile, which, like, also not a bad effect. This card is potentially kind of cracked, and if people do stuff with this, it's I feel like half the time thanks to this card, but yeah, it's actually a pretty good card. I know that this guy is gonna be a UR, but this probably should have been the UR. Let's be realistically, this should have been the UR, but this is probably gonna be a UR and have an animation. That's what I expect. Is that a 3 of? Oh yeah, I guess I didn't look at lists. This is probably a 3 of, I would imagine. It kind of depends, to be honest. When I first saw these cards, when I kind of cared about them, I mean, I care about them all the time. I'm an expert on this after all, but I think people were trying to play like more weird combo with Daybreak. I think it was more focused on that. Now I see they try to hybrid it up with like Evil Source and stuff, and Dinos a little bit for Evil Source. So yeah. I'm not sure about the ratios. This one was added like literally minutes before the stream started. I mean, I did my homework on time. And the endboard pieces seem to be, you got Planet Pollutant Virus, because aliens. That can pop every monster your opponent controls without a counter and place counters on everything they summon for the next 3 turns. You got Zurol, which is Gooska for stuff with 8 counters on it, aka, you know, the Planet Pollutant targeted things. And Evolzar Lars, which is the negate guy. Very cool. The question marks are there because I'm not really sure what you end on. I feel like you probably could cheese something harder with Daybreak if you really wanted to. But again, you're still playing Ogdos, and the Ogdo parts are a little bit awkward. But yeah. You know, these are potential endboard pieces that you might have. I don't know. You tell me. Then we also have other notable cards. We got Tifon. Holy cannoli, guys. On the turn or the next turn after opponent summon 2+ from the extra deck, you can put this on top of everything, but you can't summon afterwards. Also, this floodgates everything with 3k attack or more. Can't activate their effects anymore. Anywhere. Which, cool. That's pretty epic. I love floodgating my opponent by normal summoning an Ash Blossom. And once per turn, you can detach a material and spin a monster on the field to the hand. It could spin itself. It could spin an opponent's card. Yep, it's there. It has the 29-29 stat line. You can't see it because I'm in front of it. But yeah, kind of actually unfortunate placement now that I think about it. You guys couldn't see the stats for anything before. My bad. Doesn't really matter though. And we also got the new Solemnish card, Iron Thunder. When a spell trap or monster effect is activated on the field, you can negate the activation and destroy it. And then you can destroy other cards. Or actually, I don't think you... Is it an option? Yeah, you have to destroy any other cards in the same column as the destroyed card. So... kind of not bad, to be honest. For trap decks, I feel like this would be a pretty brainless pickup. Makes a lot of sense. S-Force support, yeah, I heckin' love when my opponent plays into my S-Force zones and I have to destroy my own S-Force cards. Worry not, I can activate the S-Force Survive trap card in the graveyard to move my S-Force out of the way from the Iron Thunder. Mechanite support, again. Mechanites are likely to be in the columns. I guess you could make an argument like, oh, they summon a card so they're not under your skill drain columns and then you destroy stuff, which... admittedly, I guess that could be the case, but like, I don't know, man. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, frick you. And these are the Pixiv links to the Yubel artworks, including the background art and the artwork from before. I think that's the last slide.